What's going on, everybody? Thank you, Ricky, for that delightful introduction. I am so, honored to be here with you all, and thank you for sharing your time this evening as we, fellowship in creative spirits. My name is Archie, Archie J, and this club is actually, it welcomes, the creative and the connected and those curious about, what's going on as we are prime, like in the center of Los Angeles. And so that's a little bit about what today's conversation is going to be about, talking to a creator himself that I will be introducing very soon. But before we do that, I do want to give a big shout out to Amorphous for being here, for lending his time, spinning. I really do appreciate that. An icon, a legend that is. Now, if you know anything about Nicky, listen, I'm going to break it down for you a little bit more. He's an art director, a designer, doing all of the things at Atlantic Records from the East Coast, now in LA, Grammy Awards, doing big things, and I can't wait to talk more about this from the Barbie movie and beyond. Let's give him a warm welcome. Make some noise for NickyChulo. There's so much to talk about. I've been doing a deep dive into who you are, but I do want to come at a perspective of like today, right? Based off of everything that you've done. Who is Nicky today? And, how do you show up in this leadership of creative direction that you exist in?
Who is NickyChulo today? Today I'm an art director. Today I'm a designer. I'm a music lover, and I'm a friend. And for those of you who don't know, Chulo was a nickname given to me by a good friend of mine. One of my best friends growing up. His name is Oscar. He's El Salvadorian, so I didn't just give myself that name.
Yeah. Okay, I feel that. And so there's so much that you've done. I'm curious to know what today is one of the most proudest things that you've worked on.
One of the most proudest things I've worked on, I think, this is a two-part question, a two-part answer, excuse me. So the Barbie movie, of course, is my claim to fame right now. I got to work on the soundtrack, so all the visuals for the vinyls, the CDs, the cassette tapes, some of the merch. It was a 3-4 month long situation. Lots of no sleeping, and that's on the corporate side. That's with Atlantic. But side work and working with friends, I think working with my good friend Radimus here, incredible musician, rapper, artist.
Shout out to Radimus. Yeah.
He has a lot of great ideas, and I think when there's not a million people in a building attached to one thing, and it's kind of like you can sit and enjoy your people and kind of build with them and give your feedback, it's just no pressure, and you build great things.
Yeah. You work in this space to where guidelines can be given to you, right? And so I'm curious to know, how do you balance trusting your voice while adhering to those specific guidelines for a project?
I've been doing this 14 years, so I think design, there's rules. Like some things work, some things don't. I'll follow the guidelines to the best extent, and in music, the guidelines are, I want a unicorn on the cover, or I want these colors, and I'll try to make that work, but sometimes I have to sell the idea to them that it might not work out quite this way, but I can make it work this way, based on design techniques. So tension or typography, we can kind of pull it in this way. So it all kind of comes down to communication. At the end of the day, it's like, I can take this idea and change it to this thing. And you might like it, you might not, but let's continue this conversation versus being like, that's a terrible idea. Yeah.
Communication is hard. Communication is hard, whether you're in a work dynamic, whether you're in a relationship dynamic, whether, you're outside dynamics, right? But how do you make sure that everybody is, on the same page, working in such, what can be a free-flowing environment when it comes to the creative?
It varies. It's different because sometimes you have a personal relationship with the artist or with the artist and their manager, and sometimes it's like 18 people, and it's like, all right, who am I talking to today, I prefer in person. The artists that come to work with me in person, like we get to share a meal, we get to talk about things outside the project, their lives, and you get a fuller picture of who they are, and that helps me inform what the visuals are gonna be and how the outside people are gonna consume this visually. That's my job. I have to get this concept that they want and make sure everybody can consume it, not just the people that they want to consume it, but their entire demographic. So one-on-one is best, but when working with large teams, just over-communicating, again. I'm calling at midnight, I'm sending the email, it's like, is this okay? Just making sure people stay in the loop is the biggest thing. Even if you're a million weeks late, just letting them know, hey, I'm gonna be late with this, I'm gonna be late with this, but if there's no communication, that's when things kind of get shaky. So just transparency and communication, always. It's saved me a lot of times. I've gotten yelled at for not communicating, that's why I'm telling you now.
Oh, really? How did the yelling go?
Terrible.
Okay.
Screaming.
Yeah?
Oh, man.
How do you receive yelling? How do you respond to that?
You just kind of don't. It's like, all right, well, this is where he's at. Is there a resolution? If there is, cool. If there's not, then you just keep moving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know, like, what the deciding factor it is for you to outsource rather than, design for yourself. Like, how do you streamline that when something comes across your desk, quote unquote?
I think at this point in my career, it is about putting talent other than myself in just positions to win and giving them a shot. I think especially with Gen Z. Because I was a young talent once, and it's like, you really got to fight for those chances, yo. Like, you got to be outside at the shows, talking to management, and it can be exhausting. It could definitely be exhausting. So now that I'm in the building, I try to, it's like, okay, I know this kid, he's a great illustrator. Maybe he's in his 20s. I'm going to try to convince the artist, convince management and the label to spend money on this kid. Because as time goes on, my ideas have a little bit more weight, so I do what I can. But just giving people a shot and specialization. If someone can draw the best circle and I need a circle for this project, best circle person's getting it. I want to give my friends a shot, sure, but I can't take a risk all the time,
These people that you speak of, I'm curious to know, like, what the best formula or, outreach that they should go about in getting in touch with you, especially being in your position today.
Outreach. I think email is the best. I think so much my DMs are I haven't even responded to half the happy birthdays from 2 months ago. So I think email's best. If someone hands my number out, please don't, but if they do,
you respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if someone does it, it's someone I really trust and they know.
Okay.
So email or phone number is the best way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, don't give my number out.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Not a fun thing.
No, I love that. And so your origin is being Haitian American.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out. From the East Coast.
Hey, Frenchie's here.
Come on, Frenchie. How
Hi.
important are the origins in your journey, like creatively and personally?
Very important.
Yeah.
First and foremost. I think any chance that I can just express my Haitianness. I mean, usually it's food. Food is kind of like, that's my lunch, it's my dinner, I'm having friends, whatever. But professionally, I've worked with a few Haitian artists. Cherie is a local one in LA. She's incredible. Kodak Black. Yeah.
I like Kodak Black.
Yeah, he's a surprisingly hard worker despite the mess, And he had a project called Haitian Boy Kodak, right? So I had to do research on this project. I'm like, okay, what does he want to go for? And I decided to use voodoo on the cover. So before I jumped in there, I'm like, yo, let me call my friend Porsche. She deals with spiritual, astral, ancestral things. I'm like, all right, great. I'm like, Porsche, spiritually, is this legal? Like, will my family be cursed forever? And she's like, no, well, you have Haitian blood, so it should be fine. So Haitian Boy Kodak, that cover and that back cover has a lot of Haitian voodoo inscriptions on it. And things have been fine ever since. So,
I'm glad to hear it.
so that's something I was excited about in my Haitian heritage. It's kind of like, okay, I get to employ some, it's because
Can I tell you something? This is personal. A bit off course.
Please.
Do you like oxtail?
I love oxtails.
Really?
I love oxtails.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had it.
For the first time.
This year. Okay, well, listen. Okay, calm down. Listen, but I got there. Okay, I did get there. And let me tell you something. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did.
What prompted you to have oxtail? Was it like a one-off? Was it a friend?
Now we're getting lost here. But I think that I woke up, I had a craving. I saw it on social. Yeah. And it was really good.
True.
Yeah. Can you make them?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Well, we will be using that number that people have given out. But I've heard that you mentioned also like the languages change when you work with different camps,
Absolutely.
right? And we were talking about communication. How do you know how to navigate that? You know, from Barbie to Cardi B. Like,
I mean, to answer this, I would say it's not code switching. It's more like knowing what people respond to. Like if you talk about something in a certain way, they'll be responsive. So it's kind of like just the way you speak about deadlines and speak about creative. It varies a little bit different from camp to camp. It's not a dramatic shift, but it's like, what do they respond to? Am I emailing? Am I texting? Is it a group chat? Which I hate, but it's a thing now. Is it a group chat where I'm sending everything? It just varies based on camp, age. Old heads love a phone call. You know what I mean? Let's hop on the call. Let's hop on the phone. I'm just like, all right, so I gotta stop everything I'm doing, chat. But I'm becoming more of a phone person myself, honestly. It's quick. Shit gets done, you know?
I love a phone call.
Yeah. But the language matters. Like, what do people respond to? I don't take it personal if things go slow. It's kind of like I'll assess, like, all right, what are they responding to? What are they not? And I think that's the language. That's the flow.
You operate in a space of transparency when it comes to your creative and, you know, as you said, like keeping the door open for the next generation to come in. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you? Did you receive that as well coming into this space?
No. I feel like I wanted to just share my process, and for the kids coming up under me and maybe older people who want to get into design and art direction, it's like I'm not scared of showing my process, showing the colors, showing the fonts, sharing the techniques. I think it makes the community stronger. You get better work out of it. I'm like, I'd like to say I have the sauce. I feel like I could do what I do forever because it's like I'm constantly growing and evolving, but I want to see everyone around me winning too, not just me. I don't want it to be just this one person on the top of the mountain, you know? Education is a big thing for me. I like educating. I like sharing. I was a martial arts teacher when I was in high school. So I feel like that kind of transferred over where it's kind of like, I want to make sure the people around me kind of know what's going on and understand.
I'm curious to know because you have done a lot, right? But it's like, I was recently thinking about this. We speak a lot about, you know, in a creative space and giving tools and resources to folks that want to get into the door. But what do you say to those people that are in the door that have maybe reached a certain career level and start to feel plateaued or stagnant? Like, how do you operate in that space? And when and how does connection serve you there?
Well, I think that's when you lean on the younger generation or your creative friends. It's like, all right, this corporate stuff, I'm hitting this ceiling. Or maybe it's not corporate. Maybe it just, sometimes it does get monotonous and you can't miss that. It will get you eventually. And it's just venturing out and working with friends or helping friends. It's tedious and like social media is very individualistic, but branch out and just, what are you working on? How can I help? You learn from just having your community around you, no matter how big or small. I think I've always seen my friends as a celebrity, so it's kind of like I'm fanning out over Natasha, I'm fanning out over Lee, Rad, I'm fanning out over Jasmine. Like, it's just, those are the important people. Mm-hmm. Everything else is just kind of like, I don't know. But just go outside and just don't stop moving.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Describe to me, because you mentioned a little bit about like, you know, that burnout, right? Describe to me the exhaustion and the burnout that can come and like how you still are spearheading creative direction even in that process. Like, what do you do? It happens to us all.
Mm-hmm. I think over time, 14 years now. So over time, it's like you kind of learn what processes kind of work for you and what don't. So if I'm feeling burnout or creative block and it's like these deadlines aren't moving, you know what I mean? I'm in a building. These things have to get done. It's going on a run. It's walking. It's hitting the gym. It's doing anything but. Like when you sit in that creative block, it'll have you fucked up. I don't know if I can swear, but it'll have you fucked up. So you get up, you move, anything but, and then it'll break. It'll come back to you. Usually that's how it works for me. I can't speak for you guys. But just getting that blood flowing and just taking your mind off of it, I think, is a very important thing.
But it's easier said than done, no? Because
absolutely.
Because sometimes it's like you don't know the duration of this.
Yes. But I feel like it's something you can break by just distracting yourself. Like I'll go to art galleries and it's kind of like, oh, okay. And eventually it just just having another hobby to kind of pour into. Like I make music as a hobby, I produce, whatever. That helps me pour into like my design bucket. When I have creative block, I hate saying I dabble in music. Like it's so strange to me.
That you're in music?
That I dabble in music.
Okay.
Because it's a personal thing. It's like design is for the world. This is kind of like my little guitar, piano, whatever, you know. But that helps me get out of creative block. So not just having this one thing, but maybe finding another hobby. Roller skating, pole dancing is like a thing now.
You pole dance?
No, I don't. But it's
okay.
like no. But it's a thing.
Whatever works, right? Whatever works. Get out of the creative block. Yeah. Okay. Roller skating, pole dance. Yes. Okay. Wow. I was doing some research. I heard you say that you want to be the first person to start this intergalactic music festival.
Who told you that?
So tell me more about that and why. Because I'm not going up there.
This is okay. Who told you that? Okay. Anyway, I want to do the design and identity for the first intergalactic music festival because I feel like I'll be alive when music festivals on the moon or in space are happening. I'm like the tail end of my life, but I feel like I'll be alive. I'm still big into space and astronomy. Science was kind of like my first love as a kid. Like I wanted to be an astronaut before I wanted to be a graphic designer. So like merging the two, I'm like, oh, I could really kind of, you know what I mean? So, who told you that?
I cannot give out my sources.
Okay. I told like 5 people that, so it's got to be one of them. But yeah, it's a dream.
Okay. Well, good luck. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yes, I can't wait to watch it on the stream. Where do you physically own these Grammys?
No.
Okay.
So
how does that work?
So when you work on a project that wins a Grammy, you get a participation certificate. So Invasion of Privacy got Rap Album of the Year. So because I was a part of that project, they give me a certificate. Granted, there's another Grammy for package design. That would have been a physical, but it's more of a you were a part of this winning project versus this packaging was incredible, so here's the Grammy. We didn't submit in time. I feel like I would have won. But, yeah.
I thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
I thank you for sharing. Yes, round of applause. I do want to take the time to see if there are any questions that are out in the audience that we do not want to leave unanswered, if anybody has for Nicky.
Awesome.
Hey,
Thank you.
microphone.
As you were coming up in your career, how did you protect your intellectual property while also selling yourself? Because I feel like sometimes that can come in a conflict with one another, right?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think I was raw dogging it. I was very reckless. I didn't really take any precautions at all because I kind of knew what my path was, though. Like I wasn't selling. It wasn't a brand. Like I'm helping people kind of create their dreams. So there's not too much to take from outside of myself, if that makes sense. With that being, I've seen people kind of mimic my work from the work I've done with musicians, but at the same time, it's never quite it, you know? There are ways to, protect yourself depending on what you're trying to do.
In the dynamic of creative versus corporate, how much of yourself do you think you can bring to the job? And do you think that as your career escalates and grows, that you're benefited, that you gain the benefit of being more authentically yourself? Or do you feel like you have to still bring a version of yourself to excel in your field?
That's a great question. It really depends on the artist and the personality. Sometimes if I feel like I can be my full authentic self, that's great. But sometimes there's ego, and it's like, I don't want to sacrifice the well-being of this project for my weird space, goal, self. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's a good question. Do I sacrifice being myself essentially for the sake of... Can you ask the question one more time?
Yes, because I feel like as creatives, it is inherently you're bringing a part of yourself.
Absolutely.
But for corporate, you're also adjusting that self for an entity.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know within your field, where's that line of where you feel where you're asked to adjust and where you feel like you have the space to exist fully as yourself?
I think as we kind of progress through our fields, it becomes more open for us to be ourselves because people learn who we are. That comes with the awards. That comes with the recognition. That's like the benefit of that. That is a very good question.
Because I'm very curious, like as you get more successful, do you feel the stakes get higher and you feel like you have to then continue to be the adjustment, or do you feel like the stakes get lower and you, because you have accumulated a certain amount of success, you then feel you can be freer?
I feel like the stakes are lower as the success kind of gets higher. At the same time, cancel culture is a real thing. So there's like you can't get too excited, you know? The stakes get lower. The stakes get lower. This is a very good, I'm going to think about this for like the next 2 weeks. But to answer your question, I think it gets easier as we get older, as we get more recognition. People just kind of, our personality is us on the internet, on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. It comes with it, and it adds value to everything. You know what I mean? Incredible personality here. Very aware. But I think that's my answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank y'all for y'all's questions. I want to give it up for Nicky as well
Thank you.
for lending your time,
Thank you.
for being here.